In today's video, we'll be discussing trading major sessions, like the London session, the New York session, or the Asian session. And depending on where you are in the world, one or two of these sessions might be optimal for your trading. And it is very important that you do trade during one of these sessions if you are looking for more cost-efficient ways of trading. This is a quick and easy way to improve your trading to make sure you're not spending a ton of money on spreads and commissions in your trading activity. Now, what you'll see here in the top left is that I've selected the 15-minute chart. A sessions indicator is very important for spotting these opportunities, and I'll show you in just a moment how you can apply this same sessions indicator to your charts so that you can visually map out which session, if at all, you are in currently. So what you can see here is the London session is going to be occurring in the green shaded area, right? So this would be the London session. And then when you get into the New York session, that is going to be your red section. And then the Asian session is going to be yellow. Now these are defaults, and I want to show you the indicator now. So I'm currently using the sessions indicator within TradingView. So what you'll want to do to apply this to your own chart is click the indicators tab at the top. Then in the search bar, search up sessions. Now the one you're going to be looking for is AUROX_AIF. I've gone ahead and favorited that in my TradingView. That way in the future, I can click favorites and you can see the sessions indicator is right there for me to grab. Now, once you have the sessions indicator on your chart, it's very likely that you'll want to customize it to change the colors around. Hover over your sessions indicator, click this little gear icon here for settings, and what you can see is it pops open the inputs, style, and visibility. Click style. Once you're in the style tab, what you'll want to do here is you'll want to spot these three different colors. Now, the reason we're going to highlight these colors is because there's not actually a naming for them within the indicator, but this one, the first one, is going to be the London session color. The second one is your New York session color. And the third one is your Asian or Tokyo session color. Now, what you may want to do here is hover or drag this to the side here for a second. Click on the background color, and you can change the opacity or the color of the session. Now you can see if I make this very bright, that's not very useful, but for my charts, but I actually want a nice and soft tone just so I can see it, but it's not too obstructive to my analysis. Now I can also switch over for the New York session and repeat this function. I personally like to be around a 20% opacity here. And then finally for the Asian session, you can see this one, I'm gonna want a nice soft tone here for this one as well. Now, you may also want to go to the input session. You can, of course, add and remove sessions using this session checklist here. So I could add this Sydney or Tokyo, New York. This might also be a good option if you are somebody who specifically knows which session you want to trade and you only want to see a certain session. For example, I've just selected only the London session. If you are somebody who likes to trade only London or only New York, or if you just want to have all of them on your screen. Now again, I would actually encourage you to take a look at these session times and ask yourself what is most feasible. So I'll give you my example here in the United States on the East Coast. The London session is not really something that I can feasibly trade. So you can see here under my timestamp that the London session begins at 3 a.m. local time for me personally. That may be different for you depending on where you are in the world, but the London session, although it is a great session to trade and there's a lot of volatility and volume that happens during this time, big moves happen during the London session, but I personally don't want to be waking up at 3 a.m. to trade. Again, some people may choose to do that, but for me personally, I don't do that. So if I'm looking at, for example, the New York session, which starts at 8 a.m. Eastern time, you can see that it might be a session that I can reasonably trade. Now, what you'll notice here between the London session and the New York session is we have this gray or brown shaded zone. This is going to be the overlap between the two sessions. And just a heads up, this is actually usually the highest volume part of the trading day in the global exchange. So if you are trading, currencies or commodities or indices, you may want to focus on certain times of day where you see more volatility. For those that are enjoying this video, I did also want to remind anybody who has not already to join our free Telegram channel. In the Telegram, we're sharing daily analysis, tips and tricks, and things that might be beneficial to your trading completely for free. The link is in the description down below if you'd like to explore our free Telegram channel. Now, in terms of the 3 major sessions, let's order them from least to most impactful in terms of market volatility. Of course, the no sessions region here, this dark kind of faded zone, that, of course, is not going to be a very high volume time as most markets are closed. But then you get into the Asian session where things pick up a little bit, but this would be the weakest volume usually of the 3 major sessions. Then when we get into the London session has a significant amount of volume, whereas the New York also has a significant amount of volume. So the peak amount, as I mentioned just previously, is the crossover between the London session and the New York session. Also, this would just happen to be the morning time or the opening point of the New York session. That is going to be your highest volume time in trading activity. Now, why does it matter to trade during a high impact period of time? Well, the reason for that is because volatility is where a lot of moves happen, right? So you're going to get more decisive moves and bigger moves during these times. Here's an easy example where you can see a significant surge in price simply around this time. You can see pretty much shortly into the crossover between the New York and London session, we see a huge surge in the price of gold that I'm currently looking at. Another reason this really significantly matters is simply the cost of trading. During these lower volatility times, like parts of the Asian session and this no session zone, the spread to place trades on most brokerages is going to widen, meaning it will be more expensive to place trades during this time and least expensive in terms of a getting in and out perspective during these sweet spot times like the London session and New York session. Now, personally, I like to trade 2 sessions primarily. I trade the crossover session, so the period that we're looking at here, basically the crossover between London and New York, and I also sometimes trade the outbreak of the Asian session. Now, this is me personally living in the United States on the East Coast, but if you're living in London, you may trade the London session because that morning time is more feasible to you. If you're living in Asia, you might choose to trade the Asian session and parts of the London session, but perhaps you skip the New York session. It really depends where you are in the world, and the cool thing about markets is they're pretty 24-hour markets for the most part these days, so there is always some opportunity to trade a session. Now, another thing is that what if you work a full-time job? Well, knowing these sessions can be very powerful because before I actually did YouTube and traded full-time during the work hours, right, I would be at work, obviously, so I couldn't really trade this as easily. So I would often trade in the evenings, my time, the Asian session. So now I'm going to give you an easy example of how you might actually use the sessions indicator from the perspective of somebody who maybe trades the London session. Let's go over to the inputs tab on the sessions indicator and let's remove everything except for the Tokyo session and London session. Now, the reason I'm doing this specifically is you can see that if the green zone is really where we plan on trading, right around this area, if that's what we're going to be trading, what may be useful is plotting the previous session and then actually marking highs and lows on that indicator, or on that chart. So for example, you can see that if we're going to be planning on trading the green session, which is the London session, maybe we can then mark up the previous session's highs and lows. Now, this is something very popular in trading because what oftentimes the next session will look for is a sign of a breakout of the previous. So for example, you can see we tried to come up, we failed, right? And then we actually retested that area before truly breaking out of the previous session. We again found support at the top of the previous session's range, but ultimately actually broke higher into the remaining portion of the London session. So something to think about is session to session breakouts is actually a very common thing that we see in markets pretty often. So I want to basically just think through this with you from a trading strategy perspective. If you're someone who trades the 15-minute chart, it may be worthwhile to pay attention to previous session high and lows in your chart markups. And it's a quick way to make sure that you're spotting those key breaks, not just from a technical analysis perspective, but from a session to session breakout idea, right? So you can see here is an example of where we closed significantly above the previous session's highs and continued to put in new highs, and then actually repeated that into the New York session. And what I'm discussing here is often referred to as the London breakout. And as the name might entail, the idea is basically you mark the session highs and lows from the Asian session, and you're looking for a breakout one way or the other. Another common question around sessions that I see is which charts should I be trading into each session? And the answer is pretty much all charts have some surge in volume at the onset of a major market session. So for example, you can see we've just switched over to the British pound. This definitely had a pickup in volume into the London session. Now I've selected NASDAQ E-mini futures, and what you can see here is that the red section is the New York session, which, as you would imagine, for stock indices traders, that is a very popular time to watch these things. And you can see the surge in volume that took place as major market moves occurred. Now, why do these sessions have so much power? Well, think physically what is happening in these instances. What you have happening is major market players, hedge funds, banks, institutional traders, retail traders, everybody is stepping up to the trading desk around a similar time. And so as that morning session gets going for New York traders who are arriving at the desk, we see surges in volume. The other thing that majorly impacts price action movements is that we do oftentimes see in the mornings of the session major news announcements, whether that be economic data releases, fiscal policy decisions, or monetary policy decisions. These major announcements can cause significant surges in trading activity. And from a trader's perspective, that kind of movement is something that we want to see. Although some people trade the off-hour sessions, I personally avoid them because, again, I'm looking for that movement so that I can capture some good trades in the financial markets. If you're looking for more tips on how to best optimize your trading within TradingView.com, I have a full playlist on my channel that might be useful to you. That playlist will be on the screen right now for you to explore more tips and features to how to optimize your TradingView.com experience. Thanks for watching.